I followed this poor man to the bathroom. I didn't go in the bathroom, but I followed him there. And when he got out, I was like, I love everything that you've said and I want to work for you, like now. And he was like,
guys, we got a good one for you today. She's one of the best BDMs to walk the SFR space, Jen Merritt.
As women, we sometimes feel like we shouldn't take the dominant stance. So we make ourselves a little bit smaller and we wait for people to recognize what we're saying rather than just making moves on our own. There's been two key pivotal points where I stopped playing small, and both of them have got me big, giant leaps ahead in my career. I'm out. I'm not interested in this. You guys aren't listening. I'm tired of screaming it from the top of the roof. I have to go. And I got a call from that CCO that same day. And he was like, I want you to come work underneath me. Somehow, $4 billion company. And I went to work right underneath the CCO. Even if it ends up being the worst thing ever, you will land on your 2 feet as long as you pursue the things that your gut tells you to do.
Want to welcome you to the SFR She Suite. This is Mindy Seeger, co-host of the SFR She Suite, and I'm also the Executive Vice President of Strategy and Business Development for First Rate Field Services. We're so glad you're here today. Hey guys, I'm Tanya Odell, co-host also with my friend Mindy Seeger here of the SFR She Suite and the Regional Vice President of Sales for ePremium Renters Insurance. Guys, we got a good one for you today. She's a friend of ours. She's been in the industry for a minute. She's one of the best BDMs to walk the SFR space. She's an entrepreneur, and she's all the things in the middle, including a fashionista. She's one of the most authentic women we have in this space, and we are thrilled to welcome our friend Jennifer Merritt, aka Jen Merritt, to the SFR She Suite. Yeah, so glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We didn't do a huge, kind of bio intro for you because you have such an amazing career already in the space. And so I kind of wanted to let you do your bio and talk a little bit about how you got here, where you started, and just give the SFR She Suite, She Squad an intro of your own.
Well, I love it. Thank you again for having me. We have a bunch of women powerhouses in sales on today's pod, which is fun. But that's what my background has been for the longest time. And started out in metal sales, believe it or not, stainless aluminum and carbon. Worked a lot with aerospace companies, so that's where I cut my teeth. And now I'm in the PM space and have been for, oh my goodness, 7 years. But my husband and I have been in real estate for many years before that. Actually, the house that I'm standing in, we built. And when I say we built it, my husband literally designed he was the structural engineer. We were out in the snow putting giant beams up with cranes. We painted the entire thing. Like, we had a lot of fun. But we flipped properties. We've sold properties.
Stayed married through that process, so that's okay. Yeah, that's insane.
Barely. Barely. We talk about building another one all the time, and I'm like, are you sure? And we're building a sauna and cold plunge area down outside right now, and we're going back through all the memories that we've had building this house. So yeah, just been in sales, been in the industry for a while, love homes, love real estate, love investing, and absolutely love sales.
Well, tell us how you started RentScale.
So Jeremy started RentScale it was 7 years ago now. So all the credit does go to him for the initial little, start. But it was such an incredible company. And I'll tell you what, he painted such a great vision. I mean, that's what sold me on coming into the space. He takes care of people. He takes care of his clients. And he had this big vision that I was like, okay, I can finally buy my private jet if I join this guy. I haven't bought my private jet yet, but we're working on it. But I was just so impressed with what he had built, the team he had built, the exceptional people on it. And I really have found a whole second family there. So he started RentScale about 7 years ago. I came in about 5 years ago. And now I run the company basically at, COO, all the operations. Even though I love sales, here I am in operations. But I can't help dipping my toes back into sales at least once a month. So still closing deals just for the fun of it.
There you go. Now, one of the things that I know you and I have in common, and it was definitely a great, part of my career in SFR is being a BDM or someone that brings on new properties for the third party property management companies. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got in that world and how that went from being a BDM to RentScale.
Yeah. So, really weird. I decided when I was done with my metals career that I was going to get my real estate license. Don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I loved real estate and I was like, this is a good direction. And it was right after I finished my real estate license that actually Spencer, who just left Evernest to go work on his own projects, he reached out to me and he was like, hey, we need someone in Colorado. Will you develop business for us and be our boots on the ground there? And I was like, you know what? Why not? That sounds great. So I stepped into that role and just really enjoyed learning everything that I did. Like, love talking to the people and helping them build portfolios. But I always tell BDMs now that are going through it, that I'm coaching, that if you want to build a real estate portfolio for yourself, if this is a personal goal of yours, this is the best way to start because you just immerse yourself in this entire space. And I learned about how to creatively finance a property. I learned what a good investment looked like. I walked through some of the most disgusting houses I think I'll ever step foot in. And I learned what not to do as well as a landlord. So, my goodness, the education was incredible. But Evan Nest and Spencer is actually who gave me my start in the space. No, he's a good guy. He's such a great guy. Yeah, he is.
That's fantastic. And I understand that there may be some pretty exciting news of a possible new launch. You want to talk about that since it seems like this is your expertise?
Yeah, I can't wait. So I have ventured into something brand new. The good news is Jeremy's still with me. We couldn't let go of that dynamic duo that everyone can't get enough of, that brother sister fighting thing that we've got going on. And so
And it is awesome.
it is. We have so much fun, honestly. The two of us is yeah, we're just great friends and we will let each other have it. But also, no one has my back like he does, which is awesome. It's amazing to have something that special. So, yeah, we're launching it together and we cannot wait. It is called Closer. And you guys are hearing it first. Nobody else knows about this. It has not been laundry. It has not been launched out there. Yeah. So what we're doing is we are doing a done for you, completely close the deal BDM service. We call it a BDM. We probably won't call these people BDMs, but what we're doing is you got the leads. We're going to jump into your CRM. We're going to take all your leads. We know that speed to lead is one of the most important things. So we've designed a service where you literally pay us to close deals so that you can step out of the sales function. We know that everyone in this space is really, we know everybody is like a founder-led kind of operator brain. A lot of the PMs are great, scrappy, DIYers. They're smart, they're capable, but they're so stretched in 20 million different directions. And so we are building something for the companies that know that sales matters, know that they want to grow, but just don't have time to do it. Or maybe their business development manager isn't cutting it, or they're paying too much for it and it's driving down their P&L. So I'm really excited. We're going to close doors for people.
Oh my God. I swear I could ask a million questions. So what if, like, are you going to be nationwide? Or are you starting it in market? You are.
No,
So, like, say you had a BDM in Colorado, but you wanted to try out, see how your leads went in Atlanta. You could use you guys in Atlanta.
Yep.
That's so awesome.
Yep. It's going to be nationwide, and these people are all going to be fully trained by RentScale. So RentScale is still involved in all of this kind of stuff. Like, we've created something that works really well for both of us, and fully trained by RentScale. You'll have a playbook. You'll get to distill your processes. Nothing in your business has to change. We will sell to your specifications, your ideal fit client, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for it.
I think the rest of us are too. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I should have thought of it first. Like,
She's like, what? No, I thought of it first.
you're
Too late.
And so, like Mindy said, so honored and excited that you chose the She Suite to share it. So we will support any way that we can. You guys have done amazing at RentScale. We love watching you. You and Jeremy will get do your classes, and now you've even got RentScale events now of your own, right?
Yeah, my United status is going to go platinum this year. We're actually bringing the show to you. So it used to be that you traveled to us, but we wanted to do some more small workshop style, more regional events where we could build a room of, let's say, 20 to 30 people, and we could all kind of network mastermind together, and we could teach all of these PMs about how to incorporate a sales system, and not even a BDM. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're actually talking about growth and lead generation systems and how you take that next step in your business. So you want to talk about a BDM with us, you can come talk to us about that later, but this is all about growth, and we're going around the country. So those first class tickets, those upgrades, those free upgrades, that's hopefully going to happen to me a bunch this year with all the travel.
So that's definitely not playing small, Jen. And in our call before this, when we were talking about this episode, you mentioned women playing small. And oh my gosh, it really resonated with me when you said that, because that's something that we all do as women. We play small because we're reading the room. Maybe it's our empathy playing. I'm not really sure what it is, but I know that you've been in your career long enough. You've experienced a time when you've had to kind of play small because you anticipated possibly that, okay, there's a threat. There's something that, is going on, and I don't want to be too intimidating. I really wanted you to expand on that concept and how it plays out in your life.
Yeah. Well, I think, and this could happen for a lot of people, right? But I honestly believe that as women, we sometimes feel like we shouldn't take the dominant stance, and instead we should try and convince whoever's on the other side of whatever we're trying to do to see our point of view, rather than, take the stance of like standing over the top. And so I think we make ourselves a little bit smaller, and we wait for people to recognize what we're saying rather than just making moves on our own. And I've experienced this a couple of times in my career. And, there's been two key pivotal points where I stopped playing small, and both of them have got me big, giant leaps ahead in my career. When I've stopped just kind of suggesting things and then hanging in the background for somebody to pick it up. Or, when I've stopped expressing an opinion, but then when somebody doesn't like it, just kind of letting it go, letting it die. Especially when it's something that, you feel in your gut. And I've been so into that. I swear it's only been like 2 weeks. But everybody says, listen to your gut a little more. And to me, we play small when we're not listening to our gut. When our gut is screaming something out at us and we're like, shh, be quiet now, be quiet. And that's when we don't make moves and when we waste time. And so I can think of a very specific instance when I was at the metals company, and I'm still great friends with this person, but I went to a leadership academy and it was up in Canada. And one night, there was a 3-day thing. And one night they brought in the CCO, Chief Commercial Officer, of this multi-billion-dollar company that had sent me to this leadership training. And we were just listening to him talk. And there was something about it, I don't know, his charisma or something, but I was just like enamored with all the stuff he was saying. He's talking about sales and everything that I'm super interested in, but just how he was speaking was so different. And I was in a completely different role. And I worked in the US on the, small business kind of side of the company. And no joke, I followed this poor man to the bathroom. I didn't go in the bathroom, but I followed him there when he was done speaking. And I waited outside of the bathroom. And when he got out of the bathroom, I was like, I have to tell you, I love everything that you said and I want to work for you, like now. And he was like, okay. It's like, it was this crazy girl outside of the bathroom telling me that she needs to work for me. So he was so nice and so gracious. And we sat down for 5 minutes and we just chatted about background and some different things. And I get to these weird points in my career where I just get this feeling and I've had enough. I need a change. And I've been pushing things for too long and nobody's been hearing me. And so I just fall over this ledge, and it's happened twice now. And this is one of the ledges. So I happened about a week and a half later to literally up and say, I'm out. I'm not interested in this. You guys aren't listening. You're not taking any of my ideas. I'm tired of screaming it from the top of the roof. I have to go. And I got a call from that CCO that same day. And he was like, I want you to come work underneath me. I understand you're frustrated in your role and I get it. You should be. Come work with me. We're going to take this thing by storm. So somehow we're a $1 billion company. And I went to work right underneath the CCO. We traveled around the US, Canada, and Mexico. We shadowed salespeople and we put sales training in place. And I stood up in front of 60-year-old males and taught them how to sell when they thought they knew everything about selling. That was my job.
That sounds impossible.
It
sounds impossible.
Impossible. It felt impossible. But this is what I mean by not, you can't shrink yourself and you can't step backwards, sometimes. And, you can't be over the top all the time. But I think sometimes when we just get that gut feeling, we have to step into that power and we have to lean into it. And we have to not make our opinion heard, but then slide back. It's like, no, I'm done.
That's such a great point, and gosh, that's a great lesson to all of the females that are watching this.
Mm-hmm.
You lose some of your credibility when you make a big bold statement and then you just start filing your taxes, you're doing your nails, and you go on about your life and you don't back it up with any action. Then the next time you come in, it's like the boy that cried wolf. The next time you come in, you're like, well, I don't think that, I think this about the Super Bowl halftime. I think this. And then you just die, you just don't do anything about it, right? You're not making stances. You're not doing anything to change legislation. You're just, to your point, being over the top, and reactive in those moments, instead of what you're talking about is having a reaction to something and then being proactive about, your actions that are going to lead to something, step 2 of whatever it might be. That's pretty amazing. And I would assume, in those situations, you have some nerves for somebody that maybe hasn't acted on that before, right? You're walking to the bathroom to follow this guy to talk to him. It wasn't like you're like, oh, he's going to love me and he's going to be.
I was probably a little nervous. I was so nervous. Yes. I was like, am I actually doing this? And then by the time I was standing up, I was like, I'm doing this. And then I had to sit there for a little bit, right? And I was like, am I doing this? I should just go back. And then he came out and I was like, I'm doing this. And I went. So, oh my gosh, no, I'm so nervous. Both times in my career that this has happened, I'm just like, am I destroying everything that I've built? But, I stepped back and I was like, even if I am, then it wasn't meant for me. And I need to find whatever my next path is. And I'm going to be fine. Like, I can stand on my 2 feet and I can figure out what's next, even if I am destroying everything. I have to take this chance, and I can't shrink myself. I don't want to make it sound like, it's my fault. It's nobody else's fault. It's my own fault for shrinking myself and then getting to the point where I'm like, okay, that's enough. But it's not a good thing. And I think as humans, doesn't really matter what gender you are, you can't be over the top and forceful all the time. I mean, I guess you can. It's not really how I want to live,
That it loses its luster,
It does, yes. Then you're just noise. Then all you are is a noise and annoying noise. You really want to make your points and know when you need to speak up and when you don't.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do think there's times, and that's when I'm saying, like, both of these times, I've just felt so passionate about this next step. And I've just had this like overwhelming sense of right, not necessarily calm. I mean, I guess I was I know I wasn't calm. I wasn't calm in either situation, but I've just had this sense of right. And it's forced me to kind of step into that space. But like I said, you got to pick your battles and choose when that happens.
You do, but those reminders and like that perspective is so, you have to remind yourself in those moments, like, I am doing this for me. And then, if it didn't work out exactly the way you planned, like you said, you can stand on your own 2 feet. Or worst case scenario, the guy comes out of the bathroom and he's like, well, I think, she's an idiot, or what, what? If that's the worst thing that can happen, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If July line goes on, right? You have to remind yourself, like, what's the worst thing in sales or whatever? Okay, if they say no, whatever, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we handle a lot of rejection in sales. You ladies know this, right?
Yes.
So I think you always have to ask yourself, like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And I think about this, like, on LinkedIn. I've been so hesitant to put myself onto social media because I just am a little feisty and I don't sit back well. So, like, if somebody is going to snap at me, like, you best bet it's coming back at you, and you can't always do that. You shouldn't always do that. And so I've been hesitant, but that's another space where I feel like, what's the worst that's going to happen if you post this and it doesn't get any likes, or you feel rejected because of it, or somebody challenges your viewpoint? And I think you have to remember this in your career, so much beyond social media, but what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And if the worst thing that's going to happen, like, I don't want to give advice to anyone out there who's going to crumble their entire family for something like this. But if the worst thing that's going to happen is your kids don't have food, then maybe you got to rethink that decision. But if the worst thing that's going to happen is that my backup plan was, I'll just go be the golf cart girl. It'll be fun. This is going to be a great time. Right. So that's kind of how I approached it.
Well, you talked a little bit about on a recent panel you were on. I was so honored to be sitting there listening to you. And especially when you talked about you had hired a coach. And I want you to tell that story about how hiring that coach and how it relates to being your true, authentic self and the lesson you learned.
Yeah. So when I told you the story about the metals industry, and then I told you I was on stage teaching 60-year-old men how to sell when they thought they knew how to sell. By the way, they did not know how to sell, but they thought they did. But here I am, this blonde, I think I was 28-ish at the time, blonde 28-year-old in my heels and my pencil skirt walking in, and I'm going to teach them how to sell. You can imagine how well that went over a couple of times. But before I went on stage, the wonderful CCO that I worked under was like, let's hire you a speaking coach, and that way you can feel more comfortable. And I was like, that's amazing. Let's definitely do that. So we did. We hired a stage coach. That's actually what they're called. And this woman came in and she filmed me speaking no, both on stage and then both like no audience, just kind of speaking to her. And she made me watch it back. And she was like, "What do you see?" And I'm like, "Well, I say a lot and I'm a little bit hesitant." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, for sure. But, whatever." Um, Mostly what I see is that you show up too feminine. And I was like, "Okay, this is a new one. I am pretty feminine. So, like, tell me how I show up too feminine." And she just said to me, she said, "When you're on stage, if you want to command authority, you have to have more of a masculine presence. And so it's fine that you move your hands, but your hand movements need to be sharp and you need to have straight wrists. Watch this video here. You flit your wrists around too much." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess so." Yeah. I was like, "Okay, yeah, yeah." And she said, "Okay, now watch here how you stand. You need to like stand 2 feet apart, about shoulder width apart, and you need to stand and command power moving forward." And like she's showing me how my body language on stage should be, and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like trusting her. I'm taking in all of these things because she's my coach, right? And I grew up and played softball, so what your coach says, your coach does, or you do.
Right.
And so I tried this and I tried it many times. And she even filmed me a couple months later and she was there. So I was like, "Oh God, everything my coach said to do, you know?" And I looked like a fool. I looked like a fool. She told me that my tone and inflection shouldn't be so girly. She said I used the word awesome too much, which I do. And it looked awful. So as soon as I went back to crossing my legs like I do on stage, when I went back to flitting my hands all around, and when I had the girly tone and inflection with the word awesome built into there, it was more genuinely me. And so I just learned that, I've had a coach for something all my life, be it speaking or softball, or we have a coach now at RentScale. And I believe in the coaches. I really do. Because even if they have one tiny tidbit and you don't take everything else, you learn so much from them. But what I've also learned is there's nobody that knows me better than me. And you have to go out there as your genuine, authentic self. And be that as it may, very, very feisty. I am very feisty, a little fiery sometimes. Oftentimes say what I mean a little too often, and have this pretty girly side. And I like to go to bed at like 8:30, but I live into this, right? Like people are, "Do you want to go out at 10?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go out at 10. I'm going to bed." So I have learned in all of this that you have to listen to the feedback of other people so that you can be self-aware. But at the end of the day, you have to show up as your authentic self. And those are things that you can't and should not change about you, because they're things that make you unique and make you stand out.
I mean, that's a nugget. We have some nuggets in some of these episodes, and I mean that's a big one, Jen. It really is for everybody, male or female. Again, coach. I've always had coaches as well, and they're, to your point, they're trained and they're coaches and subject matter experts. But sometimes not one size fits all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you have to just say like, okay, well, how can I, even if you're learning like a sales technique or a speaking technique or whatever, it's like, okay, how can I take that and incorporate my, to your point, authentic self into that, that feedback or, that insight or that sales technique? Because if you don't, you just come across fake. And every now and then, maybe you are outspoken or something like that. And maybe you turn off a person or two every now and then. But that's worth it, because the ones that you do form those relationships with and the ones that value that authenticity, those relationships last.
Forever.
If they're, listening to you or they're buying your product or joining your company or whatever it is because you have straight wrists, it might not be a long-standing relationship.
So I just go like this and I let them have it.
I think that people are not stupid. They know when you're not being your true authentic self. And I mean, that just doesn't mean you need to go streak at the Super Bowl and go crazy and be your authentic self. But, being your authentic self, people appreciate that. It helps open up the conversation. It helps them be more open to being authentic. And I think it's a shame that I can speak for me personally where, I grew up really worried about what other people thought, trying to work within this box. And it's only been recently, later in life, that I've realized I need to embrace who Mindy is. And I need to embrace and be more authentic. One, I'm just much more comfortable being that way. I don't have to think about who am I supposed to be today for this role. I can just be myself, and it works. And it really has helped me generate a true acceptance of self. And I mean, we all have our shortcomings and worry about certain things. Is my hair straight? But I still really do wish that in my 20s I would feel the way I am now at 29 and a half. That was a joke. More embrace myself and be myself.
I genuinely thought you were 29 and a half, so I wasn't even going to laugh. I was like,
In bad and eyes. She's just
very sure. I was like, yeah, sounds about right to me.
sorry. I shouldn't have laughed so loudly. I should have just gone.
I know, right? Yeah, I heard that all the way over here in Austin, Texas. I think the ground is shaking from your laugh. You were laughing so hard.
I know. Yeah. People used to make me self-conscious about my laugh. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I
lean into it.
talking about. Yeah, embrace it.
Lean into it. I can't tell you how many people over the years have made fun of my laugh from the time I was, a kid. Because it can echo, classroom, movie theater, yeah. Anyway, but I do. I lean into it. I don't try to hide it anymore. I try to be respectful, obviously, of situations. But yeah. Anyway,
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
but Mindy, it's never to your point about like, you're like, I'm just now. I feel like this last year, you're just now. I don't think it's ever too late to really start that leaning in,
Right.
listening to yourself, making those choices, saying yes, or to what we were talking about earlier, like not being small. Goodness knows I've done it so many times. And I remember, Jen, when we were at Scottsdale, we were fortunate enough, we all had dinner together that night, and Mindy and Stacy and Gregory and all of us, or I don't think Stacy was there, but anyway, she was there in spirit always. But we were talking about some things, and we were talking about a couple of situations where we had shared stories about making ourselves small, and even I know, taking a role that maybe I had formerly been really good at. And by the time I took the role, because I really wanted a different role, I settled for that role, right? And in your words, you told me, you were like, well, you had grown out of that role by the time you took it. But it was kind of like, I didn't want to let somebody else down by saying no. So I set everybody up. I didn't set anybody up for success.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've done that simple, but I feel like we do that all the time. Like, it's like I put weight on myself. I didn't make the best choice for me because I didn't want to like not hurt somebody else's feelings, but that's not the word. But you know what
I made the best choice for somebody else. I mean, that's
Right.
what I
it didn't end up being the best choice for them because I wasn't my best.
because you weren't bought in.
Really want that role.
Yeah, and by saying yes to somebody else, you were saying no to your true authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it happens. It happens. I think often I think it happens often for women. I don't know if it happens for men because I'm not in a man's body. I'm not in a man's world. So, but I do think it happens often for women who just, I think by nature, a lot of us are caregivers. And so we hold that very, very carefully and closely. And so
Was you?
telling somebody who's helped us out before or telling somebody no is so hard for us.
Yeah.
And that, if you really think about back in my career, I was telling my boss that I was quitting. No, like, I'm not doing this anymore. In my second instance, I did the same thing. I was like, no, I need something different. This isn't working for me, And I think that so often that takes so much courage. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery to step into that because you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know, you're letting somebody down. Are they going to support you anyways or not? But I think at the end of the day, and in both of my situations, I will raise my hand and say that I had amazing men who had my back.
Yeah.
I did. I had two incredible men in my life who were like, I've got you. And even my husband, as I'm going through, he's been with me for both of these career changing moves. And he's just like, I don't think you should play small. I think you should be bigger. I think you should be the asset that you know that you are, and you should lean into that. And he's encouraged me not to ever settle and just, we'll figure it out. Who cares? Just dive. And if it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. And so it is really incredible to have any of that support, whether it's your husband or a coworker or a friend or a boss, male or female. I just don't think we have each other's backs enough. And I actually said to Jeremy this morning, I was like, there's a lot of vultures out there. We just need to not stab each other anywhere in the back and we'll be good. As long as we have the support of a few small group of people, you can go and you can do anything you want and you don't have to make yourself small.
There's room for success for more than one person.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There is. We look, there's 3 of us on this call.
Yeah.
And I cheer you on.
Just cheerleader even
Yep.
than otherwise. And you learn so much.
Yeah.
You really do. It really, just hearing you talk today, Jen, I know it's been very inspiring for me. And I'm so excited for you and what's coming next and, the new launch and what you've done with what you and Jeremy have done with RentScale. We'll give him a shout out here too. It's fun to watch you guys together. You really do have a great aura and teamwork, and you guys navigate that really well. And you can tell that you both care about what you're doing, so it's fun to watch.
We do. I will say that one of the things I admire most about him is the passion he has for the people that he serves. It's incredible. I'm always like, hey, we got to draw the line somewhere. And he's like, no, deliver more, do more. And I'm just like, okay, I'm getting tired though. But he is overwhelmingly good and no one should ever question that. And yeah, we are best friends. We fight like best friends, but we also laugh and play like best friends. So we are definitely lucky to have each other in this space, and I'm very grateful for him.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to other women in the industry?
One piece of advice. I don't want to say the cliche, go after what you want. I think my biggest advice would be, oh man, one piece is you've narrowed it down so much. I'm like, okay,
No more than 5.
3
pieces.
I play by the rules. I don't play by the rules often, but I will here. What I would say is get to know yourself. I actually think that getting to know who I am, what I like, what I want, has helped me step into this. So I read a lot of books on, I don't know if you guys have ever done the Enneagram or if you've done a culture index or any of that kind of stuff. But I just started to learn about what I like. I found, a lot of people were drinking White Claws. So I was like, yeah, White Claws. I love White Claws. No, I don't. I hate those. I hate White Claws. Can't stand
much. There's your culture index. What is your?
I am the trailblazer.
Okay, I'm a rainmaker.
Rainmaker, yep. I love that. Yeah, salesperson. Yeah, of course.
I haven't done it, so I'm just gonna say in a light Q&A. Hey.
You know what's fun? One of our previous employees here at RentScale introduced me to Enneagram. And so the Enneagram and You book, but the Enneagram was actually a really fun one. So I just think, you got to get to know yourself. What's your style? I know on DISC, I am a red outlier driver. Like we did this with the whole leadership class when I was telling you in Canada. And they put the results up on the board for everybody to see it, where everyone was. My little dot was so far in the red corner, like everyone was like more towards the middle, and I'm like, no, I'm clearly a driver. But you get to know yourself, because I don't think until you define what your preferences are. Do you like sparkling water or do you like flat? Like it can be as simple as that. But just get to know what excites you, get to know what doesn't, and then follow your gut. That's my advice for today, maybe because it's something that I've recently gone through. But when you feel like there's this, so everybody always said to me, follow your gut, follow your gut, follow your gut. And it's like, my gut's not telling me anything. What do you want me to follow? Well, okay, then you probably don't feel that passionate about it. But when you do feel that passion, that just like almost bubbling up inside of you, listen to it, because that's your gut telling you that you either have to do something different or you have to choose a path, or whatever it is, and just listen to it, lean into it. And even if it ends up being the worst thing ever, you will land on your 2 feet as long as you pursue the things that your gut tells you to do. That would be my advice.
That's fantastic advice.
Agreed. Thank you, Jen. We have loved this. I wish we had hours and hours to sit and chat with you. But I know you have kiddos and all the other things. But we are so honored to have you on here. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I love coming on, and trust me, we have hours and hours to chat, because there's no lack of conferences. There's no lack of events that we can travel to. So we'll pick one of those and go have dinner.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. See you soon.
Bye-bye.